Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today we're diving deep into the Light Brigade. And as much as I love this game, I've been thinking about ways to make it even better. So I've come up with 5 ideas to help push this game to the max. And of course, let me know what you think of them, especially if they're bad. I can be pretty good at convincing myself that my ideas are awesome. So feel free to kind of knock me down a peg or two. And if you have better ones, let's hear them. Let's not waste any more time and let's hear the ideas I have rattling around in my thought cage. Okay, so my first idea is actually stolen from the board game I have right here. Hold it the right way. There we go. Burgle Bros. And it's also kind of stolen from Phasmophobia a little bit in its cursed possessions. I want the Light Brigade to have collectible corrupted objects. And these are objects that you kind of carry with you in some way. Maybe it's on your body, or maybe it's in your inventory, or something like that. Instead of the usual health or ammo penalties you'd get from something like this, I want these objects to kind of be more creatively frustrating, if you will, or creative pains in the ass. Successfully completing a run with one of these corrupted objects would earn you an achievement and add it into a trophy case back at the church. And this is kind of where the Phasmophobia part comes in a little bit. I just loved collecting all the bones and the cursed objects in that game and then going back to my trophy case and seeing them all there on display. Now the Light Brigade version of this could be like this. Imagine finding like a corrupted ammo pouch that causes your weapon to jam for a certain percentage of the time, causing you to kind of reprime the gun to be able to shoot again. Another could be some kind of, well, let's say pet. Let's say you find kind of like a cute little puppy kind of wandering around and it needs rescued. But it's a wiggly, barky little thing, and while adorable, this puppy could escape your inventory and most likely would at the worst damn time. And it would alert nearby enemies. They'd go chase him down and pick him back up. Because to earn the puppy trophy, you have to have him in your inventory and in your possession as you beat the game. And oh yeah, he has health too and can be killed. Don't let little Barkosaurus there kind of wander off too far. Okay, so this one I did straight up rip off from Burgle Bros right here, and the little card right here. But I also want some of these items to creatively use motion controls. Let's say maybe we get like a corrupted headband that might kind of slip down and block your vision, and you gotta kind of push it back up to see again. Or who knows, maybe instead of a headband, it's a gas mask or something. You gotta put it on, and then it slowly kind of fogs up over time. You take it off, you gotta wipe it off, and then put it back on again. I'm sure the game's World War themes could inspire a lot of items here. I don't know, maybe you eat like a spoiled ration, or you have a crappy boot that gives you trench foot, or something like that. I don't know. Let's say we get 10 to 15 of these added into the game. I don't think I would necessarily want them to be class specific and say, like, you know, the sniper can only get this type of trophy, but I do think I want each class to have its own specific trophy case. I think that could lead to some fun challenges where certain classes benefit from these items more or get harmed from them more than others. And I'm sure this would lead to just a ton of screenshots being shared on places like Discord and Reddit with an accompanying story. It certainly has that effect on Phasmophobia, and I think it would on the Light Brigade as well too. So if you like this idea, let's do some brainstorming in the comments and come up with some corrupted objects to have fun gameplay elements right in. All right, let's move on to idea number 2. We need more wands in this game, like really bad, kind of desperately bad. That one's kind of obvious, but I do have some suggestions. For starters, I would just love to see like a vortex type of spell in this game. And it seems like most of the Light Brigade's spells are, well, kind of light themed, hence the name. But I'm sure we could dress this up as some kind of like light sucking black hole with a cool looking like event horizon that kind of matches the game's aesthetic. It would get cast on the ground or the air or something. It would pull enemies in towards its center, probably dealing some kind of damage. And I guess you could kind of think of the black hole power-up from Space Pirate Trainer if you've ever played that game. It sucks in all the enemies and you can lop your grenades into it. And in the Light Brigade, you would also be able to throw your grenades into it and it gets sucked in and everyone would blow up. Probably same with the charms too. Be a great way to like bunch everybody up or pull them out of cover. And this game, it already has a pretty good physics system and it has a great like weighty feel to everything in it. And I think a spell like this could further showcase that. And another one that could be fun is like a reflective shield type that kind of redirects enemy projectiles back to sender. There is no deployable cover in this game, and I think, well, quite frankly, I think there's room for it. Sure, it might be tough to balance, but hell, we could figure it out. If the reflective shield isn't really your style, maybe the time bubble wand would be. You cast it on an area, and anything within its radius has time slowed. Both enemies and their projectiles will be moving in like a Matrix-style bullet time, or even you if you get caught up in it. Or maybe, hell, maybe there's two different variants. Maybe there's one that slows stuff down and one that speeds things up. We'd have to see how it works out, but could be a hell of a lot of fun. And maybe we'll call it like the speed bubble wand or something. Maybe you hop in the fast one and you just go Rambo or something like that. Let's see, I also kind of missed the decoy item from way back before the update of the game. So I think we can maybe bring it back, but as a wand. We could dress it up a bit, maybe make it look a little fancier and call it something like, let's say, a light weaving wand. And I would also like this wand to function maybe a bit as a mine. Let's have it explode on enemies when they get close. Most enemies in the Light Brigade just kind of rush straight at you, and we don't really have any kind of deployable mines that we can use to our advantage. Yeah, there's some tarot cards that drop mines, but they're not really all that controllable, and they're kind of only okay anyway. But something controllable would be a lot of fun. And I'd also like to see some kind of fire damage type of wand. I'm not sure if this one really fits the magical themes in the game, so maybe it's like a high intensity light beam. Anyway, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like that short-ranged damage over time and a constant stream as you hold down the trigger type, like a flamethrower. All the other wands in this game kind of operate based on charges. You pull it, you have so many charges, you throw the wand out, and there really is no wand in the game that is like a steady stream of something. So I think there's room for that. And this could have some really cool synergies with tarot cards in the game. Okay, so moving on to idea number 3 is we need a mage class. We have all these new wands now, and we need a mage to go with it. I think I have kind of a decent idea here. They would still need some kind of firearm or something, but I wouldn't want it to really be like a traditional gun, and they need more than just kind of wands. So instead, let's make it some kind of like marker gun or like a dart gun that you use to command your magical summoned pet that you have with you. You would mark an enemy and then your pet would go attack it. And the pet would share whatever tarot cards you have, kind of like the drone does. So stuff like auras and Sun's Embrace it'd kind of take on a whole new meaning. It might be best if this pet is some kind of like a flying pet. Again, similar to the drone, so it can get through all the terrain, but with its own AI. I think that'd be pretty damn cool to have like a pet class in this game that kind of follows you around and attacks with you that you can direct. And I've also kind of toyed around in giving this class like a more lethal style teleport. Other VR games have done this and done it pretty well. Games like Vampire the Masquerade Justice, which I was a little harsh on, but it did have a really cool teleport attack ability. And I think that would fit in pretty well in the Light Brigade and with this style of class. And maybe you upgrade it with the passive or something like that. And lastly, I think I kind of want this class to have a more powerful prayer. I've always kind of felt like, the prayer in Light Brigade could do a bit more, but at the same time, you don't want it to be like crazy overpowered. So maybe this class has that special prayer. Maybe it gives you a damage boost, or it refills your wands, or helps you fling around spells, or hell, I don't know, something. But it would be fun to have a more powerful prayer tied specifically to one class. I'm still kind of working on this one, if you can't tell, because I don't really have answers for stuff like, what do you do with charms? Do they go on the pet? Do they go on the gun? Do they go on the wands? That kind of thing. So, who knows? So I'm open for ideas here. So let me know what you think. Let me know what sounds good to you. And who knows, maybe we can make it happen. Okay, moving on to my 4th idea. I would love to see some new enemy types in this game. And in particular, I would kind of like to see more like darkness corrupted animals. We have a few, but quite frankly, we just need more. Give me something that digs underground and then pops up. Or hell, like a corrupted pack of hyenas with a menacing laugh or something like that. If you really stop to think about it, every single enemy in the Light Brigade serves the exact same purpose: to simply deal you damage. And that's it. There are no enemies that stun you, entangle you, or really force you to kill them first. And this is a huge, and I mean a huge, opportunity for this game. I actually encourage the devs to look at the enemies in the quest game, Crashlands. They're very different games, but there are many, many enemies in Crashlands that serve a different purpose from one another. And what you may have noticed is that some enemies in this game will latch onto you and entangle you. Spiders will shoot webs at you, preventing you from moving. Others will lurch at you from great distances. And there are also enemies that just demand, and I mean demand, to be killed first. Because if you don't, they will spew out a swarm of other enemies that can just overwhelm you. Crashlands also has enemies that buff other enemies. And yes, these games are extremely different, but none of the Light Brigade's enemies really demand that you take different tactics. So imagine this: you're hiding behind a tree, and all of a sudden a soldier comes around the corner and tosses a net at you, ensnaring you. You can't run away. To make it worse, next to the net soldier is a radio operator who calls in for reinforcements that parachute in. And behind that is a new enemy mage that buffs nearby enemies, giving them increased sight range and buffs their health. But we can go even further here. Maybe some enemies steal the souls that you have collected. Or if you really want to be diabolical, have an enemy that will temporarily steal your tarot cards from you until you track them down and execute them to get it back. I would downright love to see this game take that next step. The combat would become so much more dynamic, and certain enemies would just force you outside of your comfort zone and into risky situations. And I thought a bit more about this too, and I think a really fun way to implement this isn't just to toss them into the game kind of randomly. It'd be more so to tie them into the game's different difficulty settings. And I love it when a game has meaningful difficulty settings aside from just the standard enemies are stronger and you're weaker. So reserve the killer bears and the killer bees and the hyenas for kind of the more experienced players in the higher difficulty setting. Okay, my last idea is kind of low-hanging fruit, but we need more boss fights in the game. I like the boss fights that we have right now, but boss variety in a roguelike is important. And I've played this game a ton now, and the bosses, after a while, they do get a little stale. They kind of almost feel like they just get in the way. And I think there should be a good pool of bosses that gets chosen from. We don't really have too many specifics here, but this is definitely something I want to see. And honestly, I can't really even remember the last time I died to the sewer boss. So give me some more challenges, shake some things up. Let me build towards fighting a certain boss type of thing. Let me try to overcome that challenge. So the more boss fights would be very, very welcome into this game. And hopefully ones that kind of use scale effectively. VR is so good at conveying scale to the player. It's gonna be like a giant, laser shooting, like corrupted darkness thing. I don't know, whatever it is. More boss fights. And that's it, everyone. Those are my 5 ideas to push this game to the next level. What'd you think of them? Which ones did you like, and which ones were clearly just terrible ideas? So let me know in the comments, and of course, if you like this video, give it a like and consider subscribing. Every single subscriber to a small channel like mine is huge. So if you push that little button, you'd be making my day. Thanks, and catch you next time.